Following a full slate of midweek fixtures, the games keep rolling in Europe's top league. Jimmy Conrad, Heath Pearce, James Benge, they join me to look ahead to the weekend that sees Ole Gunnar Solskjaer sat firmly on the hot seat, a new man at the helm of Barcelona, another Patrick Vieira homecoming, and much, much more. Qué Golazo begins right now. Hey everybody, welcome to Qué Golazo, our weekend preview. Thank you so much for being here. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, do us a favor and leave Qué Golazo a rating and a review. It only takes a few seconds and it helps us to continue to make great free episodes like this. YouTube.com/Qué Golazo. Right then, weekend preview. It's not our Halloween special. That's going to come on the Sunday recap. But James Benge, what are you going to go as for Halloween? Do you have a costume this year?
Well, I'm dressed as a pumpkin today, and all in orange.
The English word hullet.
Let's be super clear on this. Halloween is one of your crazy American inventions that we on this side of the pond do not really approve of. We'll let you do it, but we're not engaging with it after the events of last year. I'll tell you that.
James, I'm countering that because I grew up in England, and yes, it's not as big as America. It really freaked me out when I came here, and the houses were like insane. But it's kind of accepted. But I agree. There's a passive-aggressive welcoming in England to it. Yeah.
If you knock on someone's house in England, like you'll get sweets, but you know people will be looking at you going, "Don't like them."
You'll get Werther's original, and that's it. That's all you.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Jimmy Conrad, you ready for Halloween, baby?
I am, and I take exception to what Benj is saying because, listen, this is our version of the Day of the Dead, and we honor our dead by eating copious amounts of candy, okay? I don't understand what the big deal is. We're dressing up like absolute idiots, but it's fine. It's fine.
Dia de los Muertos, that's right.
I mean, doesn't America honor everything by eating copious amounts of candy?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
It's called culture, James. It's called culture.
That's Heath Pearce right there, number 3. Heath, you're going as, what's your costume? Because you'll be here for the Sunday recap.
Yeah, well,
don't tell us, but give us.
I'm not saying what I'm coming as, but I know that with having 3 young kids, they have picked out my costumes for, and I think I have actually a couple wardrobe changes that I'm required to do throughout the weekend. So I'll be wearing one of them. Hopefully, they're good.
Well, hopefully they will be good. Our weekend preview last year was great. James Benge came as an Italian grandmother. That was awesome. We'll see what happens in our Sunday recap. Welcome everybody. Hey, Jimmy, you're coming for the Sunday recap. Are you ready for that?
Yes, I'm definitely ready. And I don't want to ruin who I'm going to be. It's a bit of a throwback. That's what I'll say. That's my team.
Hey, do us a favor, everybody. On Twitter, Qué Golazo Pod, send us images of what you're going to go as or what you're going as. I'd love to see a collection of our weirdo listeners and watchers and seeing the best costumes. Maybe we do an award for the best one. And, Qué Golazo Pod on Twitter. Weekend preview, everybody. James Benge, Heath Pearce, Jimmy Conrad. Let's talk about the action. We begin, of course, in the Premier League. Manchester United is where we go as they face Tottenham. This is it. Do or die for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We had a great episode with Rob Dawson from ESPN setting the scene. Manchester is very anxious these days as Solskjaer looks to this game that he needs to win. If he doesn't win, I would presume, Jimmy Conrad, that it's done.
I don't know. I actually feel like they're going to give him, I think they're going to give him 3 games. However, there could be this kind of pile-on effect. Oh, well, Barcelona fired their guy, and they didn't really have a replacement in play. We can do it too. We're Manchester United. Barcelona's, well, they used to be pretty good, but we used to be pretty good too. So I don't know. There is maybe something there of kind of building off of what has happened at Barcelona. I think it depends if they lose, how they lose. If it's some freak play or whatever, then maybe. I still feel like he's going to get a week. I think they're committed to giving him 3 days, and that might give him time to actually hire the next person. But he's a dead man walking. I'll just throw that out there. I don't think he can last. I think there's too much smoke. There's too much fire, right? I don't know what the right phrase is there, but it's going to be tough. And without Pogba, wasn't really starting him recently anyway, but he got a red card in the Liverpool game. They need to have a good response, and they have to have that response very quickly. They have to get the fans involved, even though they're traveling fans, because the game's at London Stadium or in Tottenham, excuse me. It's really important for them to get a result here. I feel a draw. I'm just throwing that out there right away.
I feel like for Solskjaer that he's now found himself in his footballing version of the Terminator franchise. He is forever attempting to forestall Judgment Day. But look, we all know that it has to happen at some stage, because otherwise, what is the point of all
Hey,
this?
James, this is quite the jump, by the way. Charlie Chaplin and now the Terminator. That's what because we're doing old school movies last time. And now
To be honest, I'm testing that out for my column, really. I think it worked quite well, so we're going to run it.
Continue.
So I suppose, I mean, this is definite, and also on the Halloween theme, this feels like scary hours for the wrong reasons, because, I mean, naturally the talk is about Solskjaer, but if Nuno loses this game, I don't think it would be enough for him to get the sack, but Tottenham fans are really, really unhappy with the way their team's playing. Obviously lost to West Ham incredibly meekly last weekend, and they've lost the likes of Chelsea and Arsenal too in recent memory. So there's pressure on Nuno. And actually, I think, curiously, this is a game that probably suits Solskjaer and makes me kind of agree with Jimmy that it might not be the end even if they lose, insofar as Tottenham are considered a big team. And, I don't think any Manchester United manager would come under undue pressure in normal circumstances for losing to Spurs. But equally, they're a team Man United can beat quite comfortably. One fun thing to keep an eye out on, Spurs are one of 3 teams in the Premier League that have already conceded 2 goals from set pieces. Last season, they gave up the most shots in the league to set pieces. And the goals they're conceding are really bad. Obviously, Cresswell, great delivery, but you probably shouldn't let the ball drop in your penalty area off a corner, especially when Antonio's nearby. Thiago Silva as well. I mean, he managed to outjump Dele Alli, who's a lot taller than him, for a goal last month. Loads of goals coming from set pieces from Spurs, and Man United have Cristiano Ronaldo, maybe Harry Maguire, maybe because he's defending really badly. A lot of aerial strength. So I quite like this matchup from a Man United perspective. But as we always say, it's with Man United, it's not about matchups, it's not about tactics, it's vibes.
Yeah, all vibes.
Yeah, so I like this one as a matchup for Spurs. This is in terms of a transition game, being able to counter effectively. I don't think Spurs have done that well, but it's an opportunity against a team who have 1 clean sheet on the year. They've given up 2.5. There's been 2.5 goals in over 50% of their matches. It's just, it leans in the favor, at least if you want, if Spurs were looking at a big team in the league and one that they think that they could get all 3 points from in the way that they play and the struggles that they have, that's certainly an area that I think they can be good. Obviously, that means that Harry Kane has to eventually buy back into this whole system and get going. And Jimmy, when you talk about 3 games, you're talking about Manchester United plays against Spurs, and then they play Atalanta, and then they play Manchester City. I mean, those 3 games are I feel like they've set him up to stay longer, because that's a tough 3 games where they can, if you were to look in normal context, 4 points out of that, 5 points, maybe 6 points out of those 3 games, it's an incredible run, right? But is it really solving the problem, or are you just kicking this can further down the road to eventually have a lull against 2 mid-table teams and then say, hey, that's enough? I feel like there's got to be something behind that even 3 games doesn't seem like enough, because it's, how are you going to measure these 3 games? To say, okay, go out and play your best ever against top teams in the league, and that's what we're going to judge you from. Otherwise, you're out. I don't know.
What I would jump in and say is that I actually believe when Barcelona looks back at firing Ronald Koeman, losing to Rayo Vallecano was going to be the best thing for them, because you solved the problem. All right, we're done with that. We're done with that experiment. There was a cloud hanging over the club. It was named Ronald Koeman. Now the same cloud is hanging out over Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and it's just like everybody just wants to move on. Unfortunately, that's where it's gotten to. Yeah, we give them 3 games because that's what I'm hearing. But is it just kind of being respectful to Ole Gunnar and they already making moves? I don't know.
Are you going to see anything change in these 3 games, basically? Is anything going to happen? Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
And I don't think there are. And if we look at, I'll just give you the tail of the tape and give you quick bets here. Both teams have won 2 out of the last 6 in the league. So both managers, to Ben's point, are under fire here. I think the players are going to be feeling some pressure too. They're not immune to what's going on. And you wonder, if they play well, do they really want this guy to stick around? I feel like there's a lot of under the hood there with that type of stuff. Varane potentially coming back is huge for Man United, I think. And we always know that Ole figures out a way to survive. I like the draw here, plus 250, fantastic. Also for fun, I want to take Heung-min Son to score first, plus 500. In the last 2 months, he scored every 3rd game. And guess what? It's the 3rd game again. So he's due. Plus, last time Spurs played at Spurs Stadium, guess who scored first? Heung-min Son. So I'm going to kind of go with some history and some form right now with Heung-min Son.
I like it. Some were calling this El Sackico. So
No.
yeah, so well
Oh,
done.
that's amazing.
So creative, so creative. All right, let's give some quick predictions. James Bench, what do you think?
Yeah, 2-1 Man United.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 1-1.
1-1. Yeah.
My man. I'm with Heath. 1-1.
I need more chaos, so I need a loss here. So I think I'm going for a Tottenham win. I'm going for a Tottenham win here. I'm actually pretty surprised that the majority of the consensus here is that even
you think they sack him though? You think they sack him after this?
I think so. It's El Sackico. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think. Let me tell you something. If it's 2-0 Tottenham, which is not what I see, but let's say it happens,
sack him at halftime.
Yeah, just buy. To Jimmy's point. What are you going to learn like in 3 games after you lose here? Like there's nothing. And to James's point, this is just vibes. There's nothing. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is not suddenly going to wake them up in the next game in the Champions League. It's not going to happen. So if they lose, like, all right, that's another one. We've already talking to Antonio Conte. Let's just get this done. Like bye, whatever.
If they lose, who takes charge for the 2 games? And can it be Ronaldo?
That would be amazing, actually.
Like Euro 2016 style. Just
why not?
Mm-hmm. Get some moth spies face and all that type of stuff.
I had one coach fired. We were up 2-0 against St. Pauli, lost 3-2 by the end of the game. They fired him at St. Pauli after the game. The fans blocked our bus from leaving. They fired the coach. I'll tell you what, you don't want to be fired in the locker room after an away game. It's not a good look, and it's awkward for everybody. And it hurts a lot for everyone. And then an announcement goes out and all those things. So I'm just saying it's not a pretty way to go out. Not that there ever is.
I like James Bench's idea of Cristiano Ronaldo taking over, and then the formation is basically like 9 and 1, and just letting Ronaldo just do his thing. But anyway, that's Tottenham Manchester United Saturday 12:30 Eastern. Let's keep going in the Premier League. Newcastle still under interim management here with Graham Jones. Host Chelsea. At home Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern. James Bench, let's begin with you. You've seen plenty of Chelsea recently. They are traveling to Newcastle United. Paulo Fonseca remains the candidate to take over. Still some things to figure out there. I know Newcastle supporter Jimmy Conrad is shaking his head a little bit. We'll get to him in a second. But James Bench, talk to me about this game.
Yeah, I suspect Jimmy is probably thinking, well, we need someone like Roy Hodgson or Sam Allardyce just to keep us in the division, because I don't know what the odds are here. I'm sure Jimmy does. There is a distinct chance that Newcastle get relegated. I'll be honest, I don't know why we've got this game in the running order, because Chelsea are going to win it pretty comfortably. I mean, maybe Pulisic comes back. That's what I'm kind of hoping. This is a great game.
He's ready?
I don't know. It feels like the right time, doesn't it? Because the international break's coming up, so he can go and get injured with the US again. But I mean, I think Chelsea have dealt quite well with the absence of Werner and the absence of Lukaku. The attack clicks quite nicely with Havertz as the 9.5, whatever you want to call it, the roving playmaker. So I think this will be pretty comfortable. Chelsea don't look great defensively. They're giving up a few chances. But I mean, like right now, Newcastle just don't look like a team under anyone's management that can stay in the Premier League without significant investment.
Heath, I got to hop in here. Wait, put some respect on Graham Jones's name. He went and got a 1-1 draw with Crystal Palace, baby. Like, look at the positives.
Everybody draws with Crystal Palace. That is what Crystal Palace have become this year. Is they play well and then they draw, and they might be the team that goes down and gets relegated on 30 points because it's 30 draws in a row. And they just finished the season after playing remarkably well for long periods, and actually people being really excited about, hey, this could be a team for the next few years. They go down because all they can do is draw. But anyways, on the Newcastle front, obviously don't know how to keep clean sheets either, Jimmy. Them and Manchester United, not the best at keeping clean sheets. And again, with no Lukaku, no Pulisic, no Timo Werner. Not that Timo Werner is one that you have to truly worry about since he's been at Chelsea, but still. That rotation we talked a lot about last year of them tinkering a lot, not understanding where their attack was going to come from. The upside, as James Bench mentioned, that they're just so solid at the back that I don't see them giving up a lot of chances. And this one looks like a comfortable opportunity where you put 2 away against Newcastle, and then you kind of lock up all the doors and run away with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing to add there. I know that we're going to lose. I know it's going to be an absolute grind. I'm just trying to find some value from a betting perspective. I don't think Fonseca's. I'll just so quickly about the managers. I don't think Fonseca's the right choice. The guy didn't know how to get a team to defend, and that's going to absolutely punish you. If Fonseca gets hired, I think we will get relegated. That's my realistic take on that. What I'll say though, even money for Newcastle to get promoted, and if you're into those weird stat sites. No, I love the weird stat sites too, but they're saying there's a 50% chance that Newcastle will get relegated. Norwich, though, no chance in hell. They're going straight back down. So
Jimmy, is that
always somebody worse? There's always somebody worse.
Is that a moving scale? Is it continuing to go up to 50, or has that been sliding? I mean, obviously it slides as the season goes, but
it's held firm. It's held firm. I think the last couple weeks.
Yeah, that's even more scary.
It is more scary. Ultimately, I'm probably going with the Thomas Tuchel special here, which is Chelsea to win in under 2.5 goals. That seems to hit a lot. That's plus 250, pretty decent value. Newcastle have actually seen under 2.5 goals in their last 4 games against Chelsea in all competitions. If that means anything to you. Chelsea have been winning at both halftime and full time in their last 3 matches in the Premier League. Chelsea to win both halves is plus 230. That's kind of what I'm looking at. Chelsea, though, haven't kept clean sheets in 3 of their 4 Premier League away games this season, but didn't concede neither game with Newcastle last year. And you know what? It's just, it's Chelsea going to win, but I'm trying to find some decent value for it.
Well, that's good value, and we're going to move on here, but I'm going to tell you something right now. Newcastle's winning this game, okay?
Wow.
Just save this clip right now.
Plus 800, 8-1.
If it doesn't happen, if it doesn't happen, I keep my job. If it happens, I'm a freaking genius. All right, let's move on. Leicester City against Arsenal. Leicester City, by the way, a fantastic October. So far, they drew against Palace because, as he said, everybody draws against Palace. They beat Manchester United 4-2. They beat Spartak Moscow. They beat Brentford 2-1. And in penalties in the Carabao Cup, they beat Brighton. And now they host Arsenal. And by the way, if Jamie Vardy, he's chasing that Wayne Rooney record for the most goals scored against Arsenal, Heath Pearce, let's begin with you. Leicester against Arsenal.
Yeah, look, you're talking all about this Leicester side, but I'm talking about this Arsenal side. Unbeaten since August. James Benge giving me the thumbs up on that one. I like that, and they're a side that looks motivated, and when you watch them a little bit closer, there's just these energy shifts, like any team that you watch and support. It just seems like the energy is really high. There's a belief, and again, I compare that to a Manchester United who can get results, but I don't see the belief in there or an understanding as to why. When I see Arsenal, I see a little bit more of a system. Nketiah also scoring. He might be on the bench. You think he'll be on the bench this weekend, James?
Yeah, but he might not get on the pitch.
Give him the closing minutes when we're getting a tight, comfortable little result against Leicester. But yeah, again, what I really like about Arsenal at the moment is just the Partey Lokonga combination in the midfield with no Xhaka. Looks really nice. You're starting to see up this spine some consistency, some reliability where the game looks predictable. Also, I don't know if it's true or not, but Jamie Vardy with a little bit of a knee knock, not knowing if he's going to play. Didn't play in the midweek, didn't feature. So wondering where he's at with things. Obviously, that makes me happy if he doesn't, because we don't want him scoring more goals against Arsenal.
What I would say is more about the intangibles. Confidence is a crazy drug, and I feel like both teams have a lot of it. And I think that will influence how this game is played. Whereas if one of the teams maybe gave up a goal a month and a half ago, their heads would go down. It would probably stay a loss for them. But now I feel like where they're both at confidence-wise, they give up a goal, it's all good. They pick their heads up. They're ready to go. We'll get it back. Don't worry, guys. There's a different type of mentality that's starting to seep through both of these clubs, and I'm here for it. What I will say is Jamie Vardy does have a bit of a knock. Maybe Benj knows a little bit more about it, but if he doesn't start, they got this guy named Patson Daka who's been immense over the last couple of games. Scored 4 against Spartak Moscow. He had the assist, came off the bench and had the game-winning assist against Brentford last weekend. Thought he was very good against Brighton midweek in the cup and scored one of the penalties to help them go through. Him to score any time is plus 130. I'm just throwing that one out there. But no clean sheets in their last 8, Leicester. So I feel like Arsenal can really take advantage of that, as that defense is still trying to figure that side of it out. And then Heath mentioned, Arsenal are unbeaten after getting thumped by Man City 5-0. We thought that was curtains for Mikel Arteta, but here he is on the back end of things. I don't know. Another thing I'd want to add is, and I want to hear this from Benj, it seems like he might start the same team that beat Aston Villa last weekend 3-1. And if that's the case, I'm 100% all for it, because I feel like managers tinker so much. Consistency is so key. And also to Heath's point about Lokonga and Partey, like getting the same guys out there every single week, building that rapport is so incredibly important. And if that happens, I think Arsenal might have the slight edge. But I like the draw, plus 230. Listen. If I have the draw parlay of the draw I mentioned earlier between Spurs and Man United and this one, that's 10-1. Yeah, I'm just saying. I just might do a little action. I'm a little boring. I'm straddling the fence. It's comfortable here. Get off my back.
That's fair enough.
I like those odds. And I think this may well be a draw as well. Just on what Jimmy was saying there, I think so long as Ben White is fit, I think he had a little bit of a sickness bug, but he was fine to play in midweek. If he's fit, I would imagine they will roll out the same team, maybe bring in Tierney as well for Nuno Tavares, which is probably an upgrade, if anything, even though his form's been off. Yeah, I really liked the 4-4-2-ish that they were playing against Villa. It will also work quite well against Leicester, who are going to line up with that back three. With Lacazette, you kind of have someone that when he drops with a purpose. I mean, he and Aubameyang, it's remarkable that they basically haven't played as a strike force under Arteta, and they only played a little bit under Emery, but they like each other. They know each other. They're good friends. They know when to move. There were some great moments. I've just been going back to watch some clips from the Villa game for work, not just for fun, but a lot also for fun. And there are moments where you see Aubameyang just bend his runs just to create an angle for Lacazette to move into. That could be really dangerous. I don't know if Johnny Evans is going to be available and fully fit for Leicester, because Leicester with Johnny Evans can defend. They can keep clean sheets. Leicester without him look really, really vulnerable, kind of in the counter against set plays as well. They just don't look the same without Evans. I think that could swing me towards Arsenal, but I'm like Jimmy, two really good teams, two teams that probably if it was 10 minutes to go, they might just subconsciously settle for a draw. So I had this coming out at like 2-2, something like that.
Yeah, well, if you look back at that Villa game, if Arteta, and to Jimmy's point, if they stay with the same squad from that thing, one thing that was clearly evident, aside from the tactical side, from an offensive perspective, is that they were so aggressive. They were first to every ball. And if they can match that against Leicester City, you don't see why not. Why not? Arsenal could continue this good run. Let's discuss now Manchester City against Crystal Palace. Patrick, our producer Des Norris was like, Patrick Vieira homecoming. And I was like, what are you talking about? I totally forgot. Vieira played at City for one.
Yeah, let's not call it a homecoming. Like it's the summer house. It's a little bit of like a garden home where maybe perhaps you go.
He
and
coached there for many years, though. I mean,
exactly. Let's learn this trait. Look, I told you this, that two Arsenal fans were going to be right in our case talking about a homecoming, but that's what it is. Manchester City against Crystal Palace. We've had Conor Gallagher was on Sky Sports talking about how hopefully all these draws will turn into victories. And he has a point. Like, they're a very, very, it's kind of amazing how much they have advanced really from last season. James Bench, this Palace side. I know that we're fans of what Vieira is doing. Obviously, the victories are not turning right now, but they face a Manchester City side at home who just got kicked out of the Carabao Cup, a 21-game unbeaten streak there in that tournament by West Ham. And, what do you make of this one? Palace, Vieira looking for that victory. Can it happen away at Man City?
No. I mean, so the good news is at least you're not drawing anymore. That's the plus.
Right.
They're a really tough team. They play physically. They press well. I've actually been really quite impressed with Benteke and even players like Jordan Ayew. They tend to come at these games with a plan, and they will find the weak links in your team and press them quite aggressively. Thought Ayew did that really well when I saw them in the flesh against Arsenal. I'm not. It's City, isn't it? And the City team that probably are more bruised by being knocked out of the EFL Cup than any other team would be. I think they'll come back and come back with some energy. I just wanted to briefly say, while we're talking Palace, anyone hop on Twitter, go and check out the what they've done with their new academy, which is just being opened as we sort of speak right now by Gareth Southgate. Amazing facilities. This team is sat on the gold mine of European football talent in South London, up there with Paris and places like that. Like, there may not be a real top team this season, but if 5-6 years time with that academy, they are going to have a crop of youngsters. Yeah,
they're going to look good in there. Well, I kind of call them the faux Barcelona with the way that their jerseys look. I will say Wilfred Zaha is coming back in. I think he'll get back into the starting lineup after returning to first team action last week. So they're going to have to make room for some of the players that Benj is talking about. They're actually kind of necessarily overachieving, but playing to what we expected from them because we know that they're talented guys. Now, as you mentioned, Crystal Palace, 4 straight draws, so something's got to give, and I think they're going to lose as well. I talked to somebody who was so excited yesterday that Man City got knocked out. Oh, my God, Man City, they've won this League Cup 4 consecutive years. I can't believe it. We got a chance. Everybody's got a chance. I said, listen, that's just going to give them more energy and focus and time to win all the other competitions. He's like, oh, and completely took all the wind out of his sails because that's going to be the issue now. And I actually think if you're going to lose in the cup competition, we used to talk about it when we played. If you're going to lose in your Open Cup or FA Cup or whatever, better to do it as soon as possible. And that way you don't have to worry about any crappy midweek games, traveling to wherever. You can just focus on the ones that you can now focus on moving forward. And I think that helps City a lot, especially as they try to attack multiple competitions. They don't have to worry about the League Cup anymore. And I think they're going to come out guns blazing. They haven't conceded a home league goal this whole season. I don't think Crystal Palace is going to get one unless it's maybe Benteke. On a set piece, I could see something. And Palace did last time when they played twice last season. Palace didn't score in either game. It's pretty much the same team. I know Palace is a little bit better, than they were last season. But City's City, and I like them to win to nil -125. Yeah, I'm giving you my bets already, suckers.
I like that. I mean, again, draws or losses against your top opponents is not a good look for Crystal Palace. Obviously, I'm kind of torn in the way that they play. I do think Manchester City win this one, but I'm torn in the way that they play just because when they get wide open on you, they look really dangerous and they look like a top team in the way that they'll pull you in and out of spaces. Just the dynamic of it reminds me of just any of the top, the world's best sort of counterattacking teams or teams that are good in transition where they make defenses look poor. They look unorganized. They look out of whack. And that I get torn between that and the actual way in which they finish games, which is a draw. And so I think this one is too much for Manchester City to drop. And again, on this quest, obviously sad to see Zach Steffen, our starter. We're probably not going to qualify for a World Cup. Actually, he's not our starter. He's our backup. So
Matt Turner's thrilled right now. Matt Turner's thrilled.
It is. You wouldn't believe that Matt Turner probably thought about that as like what that means for him when he saw that result, which is just the way it works in your mind when you're being competitive. But overall, too strong of a City and not one where unless Palace can put up multiple goals in this game, I just don't see them holding off City. And when I mean multiple, I don't mean 1 or 2. I mean like 3 or beyond to go hit for hit. Otherwise, Manchester City win this one comfortably.
Yeah, well, this at the very least could be a very aesthetically pleasing game just because both teams like to move the ball, et cetera, et cetera. But Manchester City third as we speak with 20 points and Palace in 15th. All right, let's wrap up the Premier League. Des Norris, let's put up those...
Luis, real quick, by the way, Zach Steffen kept a clean sheet in regular time, just so you guys know. He just...
Yeah, great. He didn't save any penalty.
He missed 5 in a row. He missed 5 in a row, but like he did, you can't, you know what I mean? It's like the betting odds. You only get the 90 minutes. The rest is up to everyone else. Do their job.
Yeah, I'm giving that to their back for. All right, let's keep moving here. The Premier League, we're wrapping up. Leicester City and Arsenal kick off everything on the weekend with 7:30 a.m. Eastern. Watford, Southampton, Liverpool host Brighton. We talked about Newcastle, Chelsea, City, Palace, Burnley against Brentford. Tottenham United, of course, is a lunchtime game, Eastern time on Saturday, late game in local time. Norwich against Leeds United. Villa against West Ham. I am very nervous. And on Monday, it's Wolves against Everton. We're going to take a break. When we come back, there's much more to discuss in Europe, including a new man in Barcelona. Weekend preview, Qué Golazo. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to Qué Golazo Weekend Preview. James Benge, Jimmy Conrad, Heath Pearce. We are now in Europe. Barcelona face Alaves. And Ronald Koeman, after 15 points from 10 matches, 2 losses already in the Champions League, 9th in LaLiga, he is gone. Sergi Barjuan will be the interim manager. He's a Barcelona B coach. He will be in charge of this game Saturday Eastern, 3 p.m. Xavi Hernandez is on his way. Joan Laporta says, I couldn't keep Lionel Messi for you, but I'm giving you Xavi, who should be presented very soon after the weekend. Let's begin with you, Jimmy Conrad. What do you make of this? Xavi on his way, but most importantly, I guess, Koeman gone and Barcelona's situation, pretty alarming.
Yes, pretty alarming. This whole thing's a bit of a dumpster fire, but the prodigal son, or one of the prodigal sons, returns. I just want it. When I say Xavi, I think Iniesta, right? Peanut butter, I think jelly. Like these two things have to happen, and I hope that he can coax Iniesta to come back and be on the coaching staff in some capacity. That's my big hope and dream. What I did hear, though, is that Xavi was already pushing Laporta like, hey, we need a defender. Like, our defense is kind of crap. Yeah, thanks, Captain Obvious. It is crap. So, listen, I would say...
What's Puyol doing these days? Is he...
Well, might as well. Couldn't get any worse. But he's like, we want to go get Jules Koundé. And that's what I heard. That's the smoke that I'm hearing with regards to these rumors. Yeah, every 80 million to go get Jules Koundé. You don't even have 5 million, dude. Like, what? You can't start pushing people around to go sign some players. And do you think Sevilla, who are currently tied on top of the table, are just going to hand over one of their best young defenders in the world? Get out of here, Xavi. So I feel like he's in for a rude awakening about what's going to happen. And it's going to be up to him to somehow mold this team to get into the knockout rounds of the Champions League, to steady the ship and to qualify the top 4 by the end of the season. And I think his tasks will be somewhat manageable, but he's got a lot of work to do to kind of rework the psyche of the team and really instill or reinstill the DNA that Barcelona is known for.
What I would say is if I'm Barcelona board right now, I'm telling Xavi to go study the model of Major League Soccer. Welcome to Major League Soccer. You've been handed a team that have contracts. You don't have any money. You've overspent.
That's fair.
There's nowhere to go with it. Learn the model of how you're going to be efficient, because I think, there is a frustration because you have this half glass full. If you're going to take a managerial job, maybe, just like Koeman, he knew he was stepping into a tough environment. But I to double down on what Jimmy said, that's a tough situation to go into because now you're being brought in with all this pressure, legend of the club. And if the club doesn't back you and say, this is a rebuild project, this is a refined sustainability, we need to rebuild things strategically. We're going to go out and we're going to have a robust scouting network that might not come from in-house, or we're going to have it in-house, that at least has to have a plan as to where you're going. Because if you go in now with, oh yeah, he's just a new manager in Barcelona, people quickly forget that they have $0 to spend. In fact, they need to continue to shed dollars. And so there's not a lot of upside right now for him in terms of how you're going to improve the results. Right now, they need to clean up the house and figure out how they're going to work with this team, how you're going to bring in players from La Masia, how you're going to find some of these clever signings. Because you look at RB Leipzig and others, they've done a good job of building good scouting networks that allow you to bring in players for cheap and perhaps sell on players if you don't, or Chelsea style where you have a loan system. But again, I don't know how they're going to get through all of this debt and work through this in a way that's positive for Xavi, on the way that's positive for the team to continue to get results and keep the fans happy.
I hate to disagree with two former professional footballers, US internationals, people that know the game far, 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 far better than I do. However, I think this is a great time for Xavi to take the job. Reasons being, one, for the first time, since Lionel Messi made his debut, you're not crippled by the weight of expectations that come with having the greatest player in the world, the greatest player that's ever played the game. Two, actually, this team's not as bad as the points total looks. I mean, I've just been looking at the numbers here. Highest expected goals in La Liga is coming from Barcelona. They're attacking all right. They're not quite putting the ball in the net yet. There are some good things there. There are some good players in the squad. And yes, it's not title or bust. It's not Champions League semi-finals or bust. You've come in with expectations way, way down. You will have time as well because you're Xavi. No one's sacking Xavi straight away. I think as a gig, it is not too shabby.
That's
brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You mic drop George Costanza. Just leave that room, James Benge. This is a tricky situation. I am imbalanced between Heath and Jimmy's point and James Benge's. Part of the reason is because this is Xavi Hernandez, a man that can come in and sort of rejuvenate what Barcelona is all about, right? Sort of restructure the philosophy of tiki-taka, sort of Pep Guardiola 2.0. And you would think that almost immediately Camp Nou, definitely the first home game, is going to be tremendous, right? So that's one side. You also have Ansu Fati, Gavi, Pedri when he's healthy. James Benge's point, there are players there that can hopefully follow a system that Xavi is so passionate with, which is a 4-3-3, 3-4-3. The ball is the treasure. It is not a bomb. Let's keep it. Let's press high. It's basically Guardiola 2.0, as I said. So that's the good time. The side that I worry about is that much like Newcastle United, Barcelona need a realist. Somebody that needs to tell them, as strong as you are, you're also super vulnerable. Memphis Depay, for example, has lost the ball more than anybody in Barcelona, right? And that is something that is not going to be to the appeasement of Xavi. There are players there that are going to need to really adapt and adapt quick. Serginho Dest is one of them. Just because, not necessarily because of who Serginho Dest is, but what Serginho Dest has been used to. So I worry about this. So I'm going between James Benge and Jimmy and Heath because I don't know how it's going to work. Having said all that, I like this because to James Benge's point is there's no more Lionel Messi anymore. This is almost a blank canvas where you can say we are going to instill something. It's just that sometimes this club right now, more so than ever, needs a reality check. And that's what worries me about Xavi Hernandez. He did great things with Al Sadd. Like he's been undefeated since the beginning of last season. They play great stuff, but that's Al Sadd in Qatar. This is Barcelona now in La Liga. It's a different thing. So I do worry. By the way, before we say goodbye, goodbye on this point, but Matt Miazga is facing this side this weekend. Heath Pearce, what do you think?
Yeah, he's been really good. The issue is that he's not really a hidden commodity. Obviously, part of the Chelsea loan system forever, and I think he gets his shots and does well when he's in the national team. So I think he warrants a call-up. Obviously, the guy's playing in La Liga consistently. It's just hard to figure out where he fits in, and perhaps Greg has an idea. And it's also a good sign, right? A player that was playing at that was a shoe-in some years ago, maybe even a starter in the national team for playing at a club of that size. But yeah, he's been really good. And obviously they won 2 of their last 3, I think last 2 in a row. They've won 3 of their last 6, 3 of their last 5. They lost their first 5 of the season, which I think is an argument against Greg. Now in their last 5, they've won 3 and 2 in a row. And he's been a big part of that. So I think that's an argument to bring him back into camp, and have him in the mix to see if maybe there's a different confidence in a player. We're talking about, as James Benge mentioned with Barcelona, it's not the quality of the player. Sometimes it's the confidence and the ability to get the most out of those players. So perhaps there is a development happening in him where he's found comfort and we're seeing him step to another level, and that warrants a shout into the national team.
Yeah, I would agree with Heath's sentiments. What I would argue is that I'm not the biggest Miazga fan because there's always a mistake ready to happen with him. And maybe he can eliminate that mentality or his risk taking or his casualness or whatever it may be. And I also think that hopefully this experience will allow him to become a little bit more vocal, and not in terms of like firing up the other team or doing stupid shit to Diego Lainez with the height stuff or whatever it is. But it's more about just getting players in good spots to make plays. And I don't know if he does enough of that. Now, I just want to shout out Alaves because a couple weeks ago they beat Atletico Madrid 1-0. They lost to Bilbao's in the top 6, and then they lost to Betis, both 1-0. You're coming in with a team that actually are pretty good and know who they are and what they're about. And then they beat Cadiz, and then they beat Elche. If when I look at the terms of quality, Barcelona kind of falls into the Cadiz Elche vibe for me at the current moment. And all of us thinks they can play with them. And obviously having that result when they beat Atletico Madrid is going to give them a ton of confidence. I don't think this is going to be a very easy game. And I'm looking at the draw plus 400 because why not? There's not a lot of good value, but that's what I'm looking at. I'm a draw machine today, but in terms of value, it's pretty good. I also like under 2.5 goals. I think Alaves is pretty organized, and Barcelona is so hot and cold. I think you get plus 155 there.
Quick prediction on this game then, James Benge. What do you think?
2-0 Barcelona.
Oh, there you go. Heath?
I'm going to say 2-1 Barcelona, and not very tight, but 2-1.
All right. Well, before we move on to Serie A, I do want to just quickly say one thing about La Liga, and I would like just everybody to just give me a very quick thought on it, because I look at this table, by the way, and it's like kind of crazy. Real Madrid, Sevilla, Real Betis, who, by the way, are my team of the league right now. They're so good under Pellegrini. Real Sociedad, they all have 21 points, so the differential is on goal difference. After that, Falcao and Rayo Vallecano on 5th. With 19, which is also Osasuna. Atletico Madrid, the defending champions, 18 points and 7. Athletic Bilbao, 17 points. And then Barcelona in 9th with 15th. Espanyol 10th over there with 14. This is so tight. The race is so tight. I know it's not even November, but has anything changed your mind on who's going to win this? I want Sevilla to just take this. Heath, what quick?
I mean, nothing's changed my mind. It's just funny that how we're talking about the spectacular seasons of the others and how bad the top 3 don't want to win a championship, and that's how we've gotten to the numbers where like, wow, overperforming. Oh, these guys are really bad, and now we've got this group at the top of the table that actually makes the league more exciting. But it's still, I mean, gosh, I look at Real Madrid and I think, wow, it's theirs to lose, and I don't think they have to worry. But maybe there's a Sevilla argument there for sure. But when you look at Betis, Sociedad, Vallecano, it's so hard to sustain that for an entire season that, if they could sneak into Europe, I think that's considered a huge success for them as a team. But I'm still liking Real Madrid at the top in terms of their ability to potentially string together a window of 8 games during a crunch time of the season where they can give themselves a little gap at the top of the table.
Yeah, I love Carlo Ancelotti. I think he's a player whisperer. I think that he does a very good job of getting the most out of his players. Vinicius Jr. is a great example of that. Karim Benzema is obviously in fine form. Atletico Madrid, though, I don't think you can sleep on those guys. They still have a game in hand. If they win it, they're also on 21 points. They have the talent to do so. I just feel like they get it in each other's way, or they get it in their own way. If Diego Simeone can figure out the best starting 11 and can roll that out consistently, very similarly to what we were talking about with Arsenal, I think they can make a run. I just don't think he's figured out his best 11. And if they can stay healthy, they're going to figure it out defensively. I think Atleti are still, for me, the slight favorites to repeat as champions.
Yeah, I can only agree with Jimmy, really. It's a bit strange in that you feel they took maybe the collapsy league form they had at the end of their title-winning season into this one, but, only one defeat. I do think Sevilla will be there until quite late in the day if they don't actually win it, which I wouldn't say feels impossible now. They're a team that just seem really hellish to play against. They keep the ball well. They make the most of the chances they make. And, they've got some really solid centre-backs at the back. So, yeah, I'm with Jimmy that I lean towards Atleti. But I think Sevilla will be there until late on.
That would be wonderful. All right, let's move off to Serie A, where you can watch it on Paramount Plus and CBS Sports. There were some midweek games as well. So as we tape this, Napoli still has to play as well. But AC Milan, they won on Tuesday. They won the past weekend. They travel to Jose Mourinho's Roma. That's Sunday, 3:45 Eastern on Paramount Plus. Atalanta against Lazio. That sounds really tasty. Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern on Paramount Plus as well. And before I get the thoughts on those two games, it's important to remember that there's been some midweek matches. But again, Milan leading the table. Napoli, obviously, with that game in hand. Inter Milan, Roma, and Atalanta, Lazio lead that group. Heath, let's begin with you. Serie A. What do you expect of Roma, AC Milan, by the way? Which one do you like more? Atalanta, Lazio, Roma, AC Milan? Both. Could say whatever.
I prefer Roma, AC Milan in this one. It's a test for both of them, right? If Roma want to be a team that is challenging for a title, which they struggle to do for seasons to stay in that race, this is a game they have to win. On the flip side, AC Milan have to win this. If you look at AC Milan again last year, I think it was 21 or 22 games into the season, they were top of the table and leading that title race. They're seemingly on pace for that now. This season only beats last season by one win in their first 10 games, again going unbeaten in their first 10 games. They were more dependent on Zlatan last year than they are this year. They found a little bit more of an identity, obviously having more players that can score through the team. My only worry actually for AC Milan in this one is the Mike Maignan, I believe I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, the goalkeeper. Maignan. Came from champions of Liga, Lille, a quality player, but out until the beginning of next season with a shoulder injury, and that's one where you start to wonder for cohesion. We know that these teams are better. We know that AC Milan is better than they were last year, but there's still a depth issue for me that I worry about if they hit too many injuries. But this is the year. If AC Milan are going to do it, they've sort of got the right recipe to win. And I'm trying to think of. I can't remember. Oh, yeah. Okay. So their upcoming schedule, they have Roma, then they have Porto, then they have Inter. So this is, again, crunch time. Similarly, when you're looking at Manchester United and their league, this is crunch time for them to really show that they're a title contender. They need to get more points than the other teams. Obviously, there's a Champions League game in the middle of that, though. But they need to be able to win these games to keep pace and keep out in front of these other teams. Obviously, Napoli I think are capable of it. Inter have fallen off just a little bit in the league, but they have an opportunity. If they can get to 10 points clear of most others other than Napoli by Christmas or the break around Christmas, then I really like their odds to stay up on top, but they have to start by winning against Roma.
I'm going to sort of dive onto one of the lesser games on paper, although I think it'll be a really good one. Verona against Juventus. We were talking a little bit about this in the week, obviously with Juventus losing to Sassuolo. You kind of feels like the title is gone for them, which is a remarkable thing to say without a quarter of the season played. Yeah,
Juventus in 7th with 15 points. Yep.
So that is what more than 10 off Milan? Correct me if I'm wrong, Luis?
Correct.
Yeah, it's a huge gap to make up. Obviously, we've seen them make up gaps before, but better teams. And I mean, I'm starting to wonder if Juventus are even going to, they're basically in a dogfight probably for one Champions League spot unless they really turn their form around. It'll be a good game as well because Verona are scoring an awful lot of goals. We saw Gio Simeone. He got 4 last time out. Nikola Kalinic as well, someone that, he's maybe not a dream striker for anyone's team, but he always gets goals. He's a really tough player to play against. And right now, Allegri has not settled on a formation that suits his team. They looked quite poor, I thought, against Inter Milan as well in a back three and playing without Chiesa and Dybala. Really reliant on those two in particular to do anything in attack.
Yeah.
And, this is suddenly these games like Verona are potential banana skins. And, I think Allegri could end up by Christmas having to radically rethink everything just to try and get in the top 4.
Yeah, I'm going to probably go back to Roma, though. I like that matchup a lot. I think there's a lot of intrigue into Serie A in particular this season, and I'm glad Paramount Plus has it because we get to explore it and watch more games, and it's very, very cool. What I'll say quickly about Roma and AC Milan is this feels like a game that's right for Jose Mourinho to beat Milan for the first time this season. They haven't lost. They're on top of the table. Everything's going well. What I do like about Milan is that they can beat Torino in a hard-fought game 1-0, but then the game before they score 4 to get a 4-2 results. Where they're struggling a bit is in Europe, and I feel like maybe Mourinho's tactics will try to mirror what's happening to them in Europe in some capacity. So it's to Heath's point, this is a big game for both of these, and it's hard to turn my eyes or give attention to anything else, though I do want to speak quickly about Atalanta. But I think this is a game that Mourinho is going to pull something out. It's going to be a hard-fought 1-0 game, and nobody's going to be happy. Nothing's going to be aesthetically pleasing about this, but it will have a lot of intrigue and probably some fun narratives because that's what Jose Mourinho always produces. Quickly about Atalanta, their games against Lazio, the last 5 times they've met, always over 3.5 goals. Like, there's just goals on goals on goals, and there's nothing I'm seeing from these particular teams. Atalanta's back line, not as strong as it was last season. Lazio, a little bit all over the place in the back as well. Over 3.5 goals is plus 150. I love that one. They have almost identical records. Atalanta's in 5th, Lazio's in 6th, 18 and 17 points respectively.
Here it comes.
But
what is it?
I was going to say the draw, but I like Atalanta to win. Both teams to score plus 240. I just think both teams are going to score. If you're into, the gambling, just take that into consideration that both teams will hit the back of the net.
I like it. Great stuff. All right, let's have a look at the remaining fixtures there in Serie A, the ones that we haven't discussed. Torino, Sampdoria, Inter Milan, Udinese, of course, Fiorentina, Spezia. A lot of conversation about Vlahovic, by the way, and his future. Genoa, Venezia, Sassuolo, Empoli, Salernitana, Napoli. By the way, they have a game to play as we tape this. And Bologna, Cagliari on Monday. So that's your Serie A. Very quick, by the way. PSG, Paris Saint-Germain against Lille. That's a Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Now, PSG, we always have to mention them just because of what's happening. But, just speaking from a table perspective, they're still leading that. So, James Bench, how do you see this PSG side as we just basically, a weekend before a Champions League game for PSG, I'm always wary as well. Kylian Mbappé is reportedly not available, per Jonathan Johnson as well. And they face Lille, and you interviewed a Lille player recently.
Yeah, I did spoke to Timothy Weah, fantastic young kid, and I haven't published any of the stuff he said about the US men's national team. That will maybe hold for a couple of weeks. Fair to say you might be hearing more on that.
Yes, keep your eyes on that one.
But a really smart kid, great head on his shoulders. I did not realize that his dad is really not being involved in his career much at all. He says that George Weah not that bothered about football anymore, busy being president of Liberia, I guess.
He might have a few other responsibilities. Yeah,
got some stuff on. A lot of the coaching came from his mum. But talking about Lille specifically, he sort of said one of the challenges they've had this season is that everyone is coming in hard on them. They've got a target on their back every game. That's just what happens when you're champions of France. And I suspect that'll be doubled against PSG, who, maybe this will actually motivate them. I think that's always every sort of PSG game. You kind of have to go, is there anything that's actually going to make these people turn up and play at full capacity? If there is, they'll win. It's been tough for Lille. That's tough to score on, but maybe not. Yeah, maybe not when it's PSG up against them.
I don't know. I think there's something to be said about Marseille getting that 0-0 result against PSG last week, that maybe there are ways to stifle them. But Leo Messi still hasn't scored in the league. Is this the weekend that it's gonna happen? That's kind of my big question. He's got 3 goals in the Champions League so far, but he's got none in Liga. We just thought it was going to be the opposite. Well, we've seen him score in the Champions League plenty of times, but we just thought, oh, it's the Farmers League. Messi's going to score 60 goals, and he's yet to score in any of them. And it makes me wonder about Mauricio Pochettino and if he just has too many. We've talked about it before, but I don't know, too many chefs, not enough cooks. If they find the right balance to get these guys the ball in the good spots. So I'm very curious to see how Messi steps up. If Mbappe doesn't play, who's going to be out there to make that happen? I saw that Neymar clarified his statement about internet playing for Brazil, and just like he always goes into every season like it's his last, so he's trying to back off of that a little bit, which I found to be interesting.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen.
See. But but to Benja's point, Lille has been pretty good over the last 4 games. You can tell there's been an emphasis on defending. They beat Marseille 2-0. They lost to Clermont Foot 1-0. They drew with Sevilla. I thought was pretty impressive, 0-0. And then they had 1-1 with Brest last week. So there's something that they're working on, but I think it's sometimes when you work too much on one side, it handcuffs you going forward. I could see this one being under 2.5 goals plus 150, but I don't know. Then PSG, Messi could score 5 goals. And you're like, all right, that bet sucks. So.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I can see here is I've read a little bit about Messi also having a little bit of a knock, and they may sit him for this one as well. And that's where I think Lille have that chance. Again, I don't think Messi's been spectacular. He's spent his whole life in a completely different system, and now you're trying to figure it all out, which is really hard and challenging. And maybe it's better that he is on the field, but obviously no one would ever say it's better with Messi on the field to play against. And so Lille, obviously, they won the league's Super Cup, Trophy des Champions or whatever, which is the league and the cup winners play each other early on in the season. Looked like they had glimpses. Obviously, they know how to match up well or get up for this type of game, but they've struggled overall. Obviously, losing a number of players, losing their coach to Nice as well. A lot of change, but like Jimmy said, I think they found a little bit more of who they are, a new identity. And anytime that you have sort of a Cinderella story like Lille's was, and there's no other way to put that, teams are going to match up against you differently, respect you differently, and that's up to the players now to step their game up to the next level. You'll see a ceiling from a number of those players because they had a lights out year, or those top players were found out about and sold and moved on. And so I think it's a huge challenge for them this entire season. I think they're sitting somewhere around the middle of the table, and this will be, as James Benge mentioned, another one that's going to be hard because PSG, I think, are going out for all 3 points and have a far better team to match up against.
Yeah, well, Lille have won just 15 points after 11 games in Ligue 1 this season. Only Nantes in 2001, 2002, and Montpellier in 2012, 2013 have had fewer points as a reigning champion at this stage. But PSG have lost their last 2 games against Lille in all competition, so they could be 3 in a row. That's the first time for PSG against an opponent since 1987. So there you have it. But that's it. That's our weekend preview, James, Benge, Heath Pearce, Jimmy Conrad. We are finishing with our final thoughts. James, Benge, what say you for your final thoughts?
Yeah, if you're looking away from the mainstream, a couple of games to point you towards this weekend. In the Women's FA Cup semi-final, Chelsea taking on Man City. Man City struggling a bit, so it looks like we're going to get a Chelsea-Arsenal final, providing Brighton don't pull off any upsets. And then one that I might try to check out, Hatayspor against Besiktas. Now, I don't know anything about Hatayspor, but I know that they're second in the Super League, that the big kind of powers in Turkey are really struggling a little bit at the moment. You've got Trabzonspor leading the way. Yeah, I'm intrigued by that. I don't know why it is that Besiktas, Galatasaray, and Fenerbahce are struggling, but I want to find out quite soon.
Yeah, I'm going to say, really quick. I'm going to go MLS because there's 2 games that have huge implications on the playoffs. You have DC United sitting in that last playoff spot on 44 points, okay? They're taking on the Columbus Crew, who are in 10th on 41. So obviously, if you're doing the math, if the Crew win, they're going to be tied on points with DC United. Conversely, though, in 8th and 9th on 43 points are the New York Red Bulls in Montreal, and guess what? They play against each other this weekend as well. Woo! So those 4 teams are competing for one playoff spot, and that pumps me up, and that's why this is the part of the season that I really enjoy about MLS. because everybody's kind of in it, and there's that juice that we're looking for.
Yeah, I love it. And not getting into the playoffs in MLS, we all know, is an absolute
That's
joke. If you don't make it in
embarrassing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Don't worry, they'll add a few more teams soon that can get in, so that we're all having it. We're all having
participation trophies.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to be part of a market that doesn't get included in playoffs. But does this go out today? Just so
yeah. On YouTube it does, and on podcast on Friday. But go ahead.
But for today, if you're watching this on YouTube, obviously CONCACAF Champions League final, Monterrey against America. Obviously, our brothers to the south, we usually don't talk about them unless we have one of our teams in there, just to only make it to a final to lose. But obviously, two great teams, and worth watching as well. If you're watching this on YouTube, that game is tonight, 7 p.m.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. Great call on that one. I'm going to do my final thoughts on Bruce Arena. Okay, I don't do this often, but like for New England Revolution to set the single season points record, pretty impressive. But this quote, by the way, by Jeff Lemieux, I'm quoting from him. It's amazing. The New England Revolution, by the way, were a mess a few years ago, and Bruce Arena came in and do some things. But Bruce Arena said, it's kind of remarkable. I said to the team, what a shit show I inherited in May of 2019. To think how far they've come, this kind of is kind of remarkable. It really is. Bruce Arena, God bless you, man.
He also
the best American coach of all time. No question.
He also talked about how stupid the supporter shield is this year. It's the stupidest thing he's ever seen because it's an unbalanced schedule, and so obviously they're you're not playing against all the teams to have this balanced schedule out. Like he's willing to say anything that comes to his mind, which is so refreshing. I mean, they got a couple games in hand. By the way, that record was set by LAFC in 2019, so
yeah, that's right.
What they were calling the best season ever has now been beaten with a couple games in hand.
Yeah, Greg Berhalter could use that quote, says our producer. But I love the fact that he goes into the locker room. Everybody's so happy and everything's like, guys, well done. What a shit show I inherited in 2019. I love it. Well, here's to you, Bruce Arena. And here's to Jimmy Conrad, Heath Pearce, James Benge. Heath Pearce, thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Jimmy, appreciate you.
Peace out, everybody.
Thanks so much, James Benge.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great, great weekend. Enjoy your Halloween. We will be back on Sunday recap as well. Plenty more to watch and listen on Qué Golazo. See you next time. Enjoy the rest of your day.